Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back. So, I thought I'll come to you guys and talk about my most recent epiphany concerning my conscious community crush. And then I'm going to share with you guys this vision that I have in visiting Africa. The vision came to me actually last night, so this video should be really good. So, first things first, you guys know that I have been an avid supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson. He is a Pennsylvania school psychologist and revolutionary change maker, very charismatic leader. That I started initially following Dr. Umar Johnson. I think it was like when I really started to follow his teachings heavy. It was back when I was in Los Angeles. So that was around, I don't know, 2016, 2017, 2017 I would say, when I really started to pick up on his teachings. But I was initially introduced to Dr. Umar Johnson through my ex-partner. And so I told this story before, but just to make a long story short, I was dating this Jamaican guy from New York. I met back in 2014, and our first date was actually at his house, at his place, where we were watching the Hidden Colors series, and I saw Dr. Umar Johnson in the documentary, and he just really stood out and resonated with me, right? So that was the first time I had come across him. Now, mind you, this is back in 2014. Dr. Umar Johnson, I think he hit the scene a couple of years before then. And so I wasn't too late, I would say, getting word and catching on to who he was. But he had already been on the scene. And then, and when I was in LA, because I moved to LA in 2016 to pursue my PhD in clinical psychology, I began to watch a little bit more of his teachings and just really inspired. Really, really, really inspired by it. And out of nowhere one day, I noticed that my YouTube channel subscribers had shot up drastically. So I'm thinking it's a video that I posted, and I can't remember the video that I posted, what it was about, but I had just recently posted a video, and then it had just a huge spike, out of nowhere, spontaneously, in my subscribers. And then it didn't dawn on me until I had come across his page, I think on IG, where I saw that he had reposted my YouTube video that I made about him, right? So the video that I thought was getting the increase in viewership was, I think, completely unrelated to Dr. Umar Johnson. But he had posted a prior video that I made about him, actually twice. It was two separate videos that I made, and I was like, okay, I put two and two together, and it made sense that I would see this huge spike in my viewership, right? Given that he has a massive following, much bigger than mine. So I'm like, okay, he likes what I'm saying, right? He watched my video. I didn't even know that he was following me, right? I didn't know that he was following me. And he had been watching my videos, but apparently so. And so I was just like, okay, cool. And then even I think with that gesture of him reposting me, it really made me, I felt like a greater connection, I would say, to him in that way. And I was just like, oh, before it was more so me just watching his videos, his lectures, resonating with the content, really being inspired by his vision of building this utopian African-centered society in America, starting with his school. And at that time he was really talking about building a residential school where the kids would come there and live. And I just was really touched by that. But then it kind of evolved, right? My interest in him kind of evolved into more centered on him as a man, right? And I'm just like, So I began to like really like check him out and see him and watch him through a different lens, if that makes sense. Um, and imagining myself like, okay, is this the kind of person that I would date, right? And then I would kind of go back and forth. I would vacillate between like, oh, he would make a good partner. He would make a good husband. But then I would think like, but he has 2 children by 2 different women. And for me, that has always been a pet peeve. Like, I don't usually date men with children because I don't have children. And I feel like it's a red flag to date a man with a child, because it just makes me wonder, like, okay, if you and her could not get y'all shit together and work through whatever issues that there were to maintain an intact family, then that makes me concerned, right? Because, of course, if I'm going to procreate with anyone, the idea is that we are together and we're doing this as husband and wife, raising our kids, co-parenting, yes, but in the same household, right? Living together. That's the whole idea. Like, people talk about what are the solutions to combating white supremacy, to overcoming these obstacles that we have succumbed to, but at the same time, they're not really taking a look inward at themselves, right? They point outward at all these systems that have been set up strategically to keep us held back, but it really starts with us. It starts with us individually, and with us as husband, black man, and wife, black woman, and seeing what can we do, right? Because I think there's no greater threat to white supremacy than the family unit itself, right? Which starts with the black man and the black woman. So that's my take on, the solution, the revolutionary solution to combating these racially oppressive systems. And so it concerns me when I see black conscious leaders, which there aren't that many, but the most salient one, right? The one that comes to mind, and that is, I would say, the loudest, is Dr. Umar Johnson. And he has this, immaculate vision to bring restoration to the black community, but, he's unmarried. So that has always been like a question in the back of my mind, wondering like, on the surface, he appears very appealing, right? He's charismatic. He appears to be a suitable life partner, but then it makes you wonder, like, okay, but he hasn't done it. Like, he hasn't had a successful, long-term, long-standing relationship with a black woman. That is concerning, especially for a man who preaches the rhetoric that he does, right, of his caliber. And we know the ratio, supposedly, of women to men, especially black women to black men, right? It's much more black women than there are available black men, right? So it's just like, okay, why are you single, and why aren't you trying to build that foundation? I mean, I get that, yes, his mission to build this African-centered school is of high importance to him. But at the same time, I think his ideology, his perspective is a bit skewed. And I've said this before, in that if you are trying to create this dichotomy between building family versus building institutions, right, for the black community to effect change, I don't think that's the way to go. Right, and that goes into these colloquial sayings that he always makes about consciousness over cookies and politics over punani, as if those two are separate. And I don't think people get it, and people are like swayed, I think, like I said, by his charisma, right, by his words, because he's a very strategic person in putting words together that sound good. But at the same time, if you really take some time to think about it and think about the implications of what he's saying and what he's living by, that's, I don't think, a good representation of leadership. So, take, for example, Tariq Nasheed. Now, he doesn't want to proclaim that he is a leader for the African American community, but in fact, I think he makes, I would say, a good one. I wouldn't say a great one, but a good one in that, first and foremost, he has a family. He has a wife and children. I don't know how many. I know he just had a recent baby that was born, but I don't know how many children he has, but he has a whole solid family here. He's committed, and that takes work. That takes discipline. That takes dedication, right? That takes self-restraint, because of course he can go out there and be a hoe. He can go out there and be, carelessly sleeping around with different women. There are a lot of women, and I saw Tariq Nasheed. I got a chance to meet him in person. Dude, fine as shit, yo. He's tall. He's well built, right? Like, he's solid. He's smart. He's driven. He is, successful. He has different projects he's working on. Like, he also is pulled in the direction of effecting positive change for the Black community, right? So I would say that if anything, he is a good prototype, right, to look up to. But then, of course, he has his quirks too. Right, and making jokes, and sometimes it's a bit of buffoonery, and his words can seem somewhat divisive when it comes to the African diaspora, right? Like, he has his thing about honing in on foundational Black Americans. And yes, I get the reason why, like, he created this movement, so that Black people who are African, who are descendants of African enslaved Africans, can reap those benefits, right, of the labor that was put in, of what is owed to us through our ancestors who labored, who fought, who were beaten, and slaughtered and mistreated. Yes. So I get the whole idea about fighting for reparations and creating an isolated group such as Foundational Black Americans to achieve that end goal. But in this process, it's like you are attacking other sections of this African race, right? And the African race isn't just, us as descendants of enslaved Africans, or, Africans born on the continent, but it's all of us across the entire world, right? We are all over in the Caribbean, right? We're in Europe, we're in Africa, we're in America. So that part I don't like, right? This divisive narrative that ensues from his attempt to gain reparations, right? And payback for what we went through, what our ancestors went through during slavery. So it gets a little bit kind of convoluted and complicated, but that's, I would say, was my main drawback, I think, to his approach. But in terms of a man, in terms of him really setting a good precedent, an example for the Black community in terms of what it means to really build an institution, the first and foremost important institution is family. So I just got to say that, right? Because we see, like, it's something to be said about a person who proclaims to be a leader, which Dr. Umar Johnson does, but he has many holes within his family system, right? Relating to his 2 baby mamas, his father. It's just like, it's questionable, right? It's a reflection of who he is, his personality and his character, that he has this major riffraff between important members of his family that he is not willing to resolve. And it goes to show how he resolves conflict interpersonally, which, he toots up his nose as if people are supposed to bow down to him. Like, no, that's not how you resolve issues. I feel like that, to me, is a major turnoff, and that's the reason why, in the back of my mind, I've always been questioning and wondering, like, it's always been a red flag, like, I see myself, okay, with a person like him, and I like that he has this rigor, this passion towards, bringing about revolutionary change for the black community. So I do like that part of him. But in terms of the personal potential family side, right, of who he is, it's just like, nah. I see a lot of problems, and it's clear that that's a weakness for him, right? That's something that he has to work on. But he's so focused on this, and I think that's the irony to it, because we can be so focused on a particular goal, but we run into these obstacles not even understanding and taking a pause to reflect, okay, why do I keep running up into this wall, right? Like, I have this vision, I have this goal to build a school, but why is it, right? It takes time to self-reflect, to see, okay, it's not other people, which he's pointed the finger at. The white man is getting in my way, right? The black community, people, haters, detractors are slowing me down and stopping me from building this school. They're throwing salt in the game. But he has not taken a look inward to see, okay, perhaps it's himself, right, who's holding him back, you know, because yes, he's very egotistical. He's very ego-centered, egocentric, selfish. He's distrusting of other people, very paranoid. You know, you can just take a look at the different events that have happened recently, right, where I think he went to go do a talk. I think it was for Juneteenth. His lecture surrounding Juneteenth. I think it was in the South, and his crew was stopped because word got back to the security in that location that his crew members had weapons which were banned. I think it was at a university that he was doing a lecture at, and of course everyone knows there's a rule that, you know, you cannot have armed fucking weaponry, you know. But he had these guns. His crew members had these loaded guns, and he got pulled over, and he thought that it was just some attempt to, you know, defame his character, his name, and to slow him down and all of this. And it's just like, it's not always about you, right? It's really about the safety of the community, and they would do that to anyone, right? But he thinks that he's so much above the law, above the system, right, above any and everyone else, that the rules don't apply to him. So I think that can be problematic. It's like, on one hand, yes, as black people, we are royalty, right? And, you know, we hold ourselves to a high esteem in knowing our true identity and where we come from. But even on that same token, we can still hold ourselves to this high regard of being royalty, but having respect for other people, right? Having a logical and reasonable mind, you know, to not think that everything is centered around self, right? And to be able to see ourselves in other people as a reflection of us. And to know that, no, everyone is not always out to get you. But it's important that you consider the well-being and consideration for other people, which he lacks. He lacks that, right? That's the irony, because he's this person that is proclaiming to care so much about other people, the black community, essentially. But, you know, there have been so many incidents to disprove that. So that to me is concerning. So going back to the topic of this video about him being my conscious community crush, it's like, okay, yes, at one point I did have a crush on Dr. Umar Johnson, but like I said, even in the midst of me experiencing those feelings, right, towards him, I've always, like, had this thought in my mind, like, because it's like, you know how you're dating, right, or you're exploring your options, potentially, and a person is just like, okay, you may feel a certain strong passion, right, or a connection towards this person, but then they do something to fuck it up, right? You're just like, oh, never mind. You know? So it's like, that's what I feel with him. It's like, there are moments where I feel like, damn, okay, he talking that good talk, right? But talk is only can go but so far, right? You know, it's not talk, they can say, is cheap unless action is to follow. You can keep talking that same rhetoric, and it can sound good, but how much is it worth? You know, So it's just like, okay, listen to him talk that good talk, and he's a visionary, and his visions align with what I have in mind for the black community, right? But at the same time, it's just like, then he goes and says something or does something that is completely repulsive, right? For example, this whole deal about the white women sending him text messages and him coming across the white woman at the mall where I think he was trying to get his clothes dry cleaned or something like that, right? Well, some issue. And he's like all up in her face laughing and this and the other, which seems to be very contradictory to what he's putting out there, right? This image that he's projecting to the black community about, oh, we shouldn't be junking and jiving in front of white people, but it seemed like he was doing that in the video. So it's questionable, right? And then the fact that he is so quick to post these screenshots of conversations that he's having with white women, it just makes you wonder, like, yo, why? Why do you feel that's noteworthy to post on social media? Why do we need to know about these It's like he's getting off on it, right? He's enthralled by having these back and forth conversations from, they're really fake people. That's what he don't see, that he's being trolled. But he thinks it's something newsworthy, right? To share with the black community. Like, oh, this white woman, and it's a screenshot of a picture of the white woman and their conversation. And it's just like, why? Why? On top of that, you know, the way he responds to potential scandals or issues that have arisen, right, in his circle, where the deal with, was she Haitian? The Haitian princess, where she was at his school, this was like over a year ago. He was, cleaning the backboard to the basketball goal, and she was there providing the towel, the paper towel for him to dry his sweat. I don't know if you guys remember that video. I was there on the live when he made it, and turns out she had got pregnant, not by him, but by her husband, which he was unaware of. She was supposed to be one of the wives in his mock wedding at the FDMG festival last year, and that didn't go through. So it seemed like he got upset because things didn't go as he wanted them to go. He didn't know that she was pregnant or she was dealing with someone else. And so she shared that information publicly, right? I think on Tasha K. He got upset. I think he saw some of the interview, got upset, began to deny some of the allegations, like, oh, that's not true, I didn't want her. And instead of him just leaving it at that and keeping it very professional, you know that, okay, as a very popular, famous, widespread, widely known leader, you know that there are going to be many people who are going to cost you, who are going to, use your name, talk about you, create videos. Like, that comes with the territory, right? Like, you know that. Why do you feel it's necessary to respond to every single thing, right? You think about A-list celebrities. We're talking about Oprah. We're talking about Beyonce. Like, people high up there in rank. They are not taking time out. Jay-Z, they're not taking time out to respond to every fucking social media post or every little thing that pops up in the blogs, right? The gossip sites. They're not doing that, right? They ignore it because why? They're above it, and they know that people are entitled to their own opinions and their own reactions, so they just let that be, and eventually it dies down. But what does he do? He takes it upon himself to feed into it, right? And to create his own narrative, and not on top of that, but say disparaging things towards her, this woman, this Haitian woman, and reflectively towards women as a collective. And I'm just like, oh, so all it took is for a woman to reject him publicly, for him to show his true colors. And that to me is a major turnoff. And so I'm just like, okay. And I had a conversation with her online because I had been following her since she appeared in his live video over a year ago when she was at the FMG Academy, right? In the basketball court, in the gym. And so I have been following her, and so when she made that post talking about Dr. Umar Johnson recently, and I had reached out to her because I don't think she had saw what he said, right? His response. And I was like, okay, did you see this? And she's like, no, she wasn't even aware that he had made those disparaging remarks and he was body shaming her. Not just her, but black women. And I'm just like, that really showed me the true side of Dr. Umar Johnson. Not that it wasn't already there and revealed, because it clearly was. He had already definitely revealed himself, his true colors, numerous times. Sometimes we are like in denial about it, though. Like people who truly support him were just like, okay, hold him up as God. He can do no wrong. And I'm that kind of person. Like, if I support you, I'm a ride to the end, right? I'm a ride to the end, but then I'm a ride to the end as long as I'm not being made a fool. I do not want to be made a fool, right? So if I'm getting to the point where I'm riding so hard for a person where it's now coming back on me, right? Like now I'm receiving the brunt of this embarrassment and I'm being made a fool of, then that's where my loyalty stops, right? Like some people are loyal to a fault and they shoot themselves in the foot, and I think I'm guilty of that. And I'm realizing like it has to be a line that is drawn, when it comes to being loyal and supporting a person, right? Like I'm still a avid supporter of the cause, right? Because I definitely agree with that. Like I'm in agreement with pretty much everything he's vouching for, and he sees as a vision to manifest for the black community, right? Concerning the African-centered school and just creating an independent nation of black people apart from this racially oppressive system. So I'm definitely with that, and I think it goes back to sometimes confrontations that people have made towards me, wondering like, why are you still supporting this man? It's not about me supporting him, it's about me being in alignment with the cause, okay? It's just like any other political cause out there. There may be forerunners of a particular cause, right? And you may not agree with whoever is at the forefront, whoever is the face of that particular movement or cause, but you're still in support of the movement, regardless of who's at the forefront of it, right? So that's where I stand. It's just like, I'm a Pan-African, and I'm definitely in alignment with the principles of Pan-Africanism. I'm with it. But in terms of the face of the movement being Dr. Umar Johnson, in this case, it's just like, yeah. It's a no for me. Like the whole crush thing, like I said, I'm definitely losing that fervor in terms of like my attraction to him as an individual person, because it's just, he goes against, as a person, he goes against what I stand for, my values, right? Because for me, you gotta respect women. And you do not have a respect for the black woman, I don't want no parts in you. I'm repulsed at you. It's a major turnoff for black men to put down black women. And the way he shamed that black woman in that video, which was really a reflection of how he feels towards black women, I can't do it. It's a turn off. He's becoming very unattractive, and he's showing his weaknesses. We all have them, but he's definitely, showing more of his flaws, his character flaws, his insecurities. He's a very insecure, low self-esteem having man. And like I said, we all have our things to overcome our challenges, but it's dangerous for a person to not only have low self-esteem, insecurities about a person's self, like a low self-concept, but when that is like intermingled, that's intersected with him being egotistical and narcissistic, like it's like that's a personality disorder. How likely are you to change that? how likely, like, is he able to overcome those negative narcissistic traits, right? This grandiosity of him being like this perfect person, right? And this untouchable God in a sense, right? It's like you're not going to you're not going to have the humility to self-reflect, to look within yourself to see, okay, I have to admit I have these insecurities for this particular reason, and these are things that I want to improve about myself. Like, this dude is like approaching 50 years old, and if it ain't happened now, it's more likely to just be kind of solidified and set in stone, and become more calcified as he ages, as he gets older. And yeah, that to me is very unattractive. It should go without saying, like, I'm attracted to men who are obviously intelligent, right? Who are high achieving men, who have high social status, but even more important than that, like, I'm attracted to men who are very self-aware. And you begin to have these blinders on when you have these narcissistic traits. And narcissism really is just like a coping skill for insecurities, essentially. You look at people who are deemed to be narcissists, right, or have narcissistic traits. Yes, it comes with sometimes positions of power, but at the same time, the flip side of it, it comes with people who have these deep insecurities that are unresolved. And hence the reason why they develop this grandiose ego, right, to counterbalance these deep insecurities that they don't want to take a look at within themselves. So, yeah, that to me is a turnoff. But I think I'm going to kind of wrap it up with respect to my thoughts, my feelings regarding my former conscious community crush. I can't say he is my current crush now. I don't see it. But like I say, I'm still in support of the mission. I'm still with it. I believe in it wholeheartedly. But I can't. One more thing to add to that, and then I'm going to transition into this next topic about visiting Africa. So, with me being a supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson, I created a page on Facebook called We Support Dr. Umar Johnson and the FDMG Academy. And I noticed that a couple of weeks ago, that page was unpublished. Now, it was not unpublished by me, right? It was unpublished because someone, somehow, which I think it was Facebook, got into my account. They got into my account because I was alerted that someone had logged into my account. Then I was asked to change my password to Facebook, to my main account to access Facebook, right? I was asked to change that, and so I changed it, and I saw the notification where the page that I created, it's a fan page I created for Dr. Umar Johnson and the FDMG Academy, that got unpublished. I'm like, I did not unpublish this page. So apparently the page was unpublished because something happened, which I'm still unaware of, and I had sent an email to Facebook to alert them of this, but somehow they claim the page violated community standards when there's nothing on the page that violates community standards, nothing inappropriate. It's pretty much me sharing his videos, his posts, and other people who support him, their thoughts, right? It's just positivity. It's nothing negative on the page, right? But I think it's interesting. So I go back and try to look at, okay, what post could have been in violation of their community standards? Because sometimes they stretch it a bit, right? They go a little bit too far. And I'm just like, what could have been? And I know I shared a video. It was an interview that Kevin Hart did with Jay-Z. And Jay-Z said something alluding to the idea that people have tried to like replicate what LeBron James did with his mission and his school, and it was alluding to the idea that perhaps Dr. Umar Johnson was one of those people just trying to kind of replicate when even Dr. Umar Johnson, he admitted, and a lot of people who really follow him noticed that it was Dr. Umar Johnson's vision to build the FDMG Academy first, that it came about first, and then here comes LeBron James School. So I made that post on Facebook, and then all of a sudden my account becomes unpublished. The page itself, the fan page, gets unpublished. So I'm just like, okay. So with it being unpublished, of course, like usually, especially my pages, they've taken away my pages. They've taken down my entire accounts. Like, I've been through a lot with Facebook because you can clearly see, like, I speak my mind unapologetically. I can say some things that are controversial, that are not politically correct. So they have definitely deleted, a few of my Facebook accounts and pages as well. And I usually am the one to fight for it, and just like, okay, this is not going to happen. And even if they don't give it back to me, I'll go create another one, essentially, right? So I'm thinking, like, should I go and create another page for him? And that's a good question, right? Because it's like, of course, I support the mission. But given that he is the only face of the FDMG Academy, essentially, and there are some personal things that I'm kind of repulsed at relating to Dr. Umar Johnson, which I just shared. It's just like, is it even worth creating a new fan page, right? Like, seeing that, like, and I've shared this with you guys before, how, I kind of became part of this whole trolling. People that trolled Umar Johnson began trolling me and trying to defame my character, my name, and I had to get the police involved. I had to get an attorney involved so that they take down certain videos that were made about me and different attacks that they were making against me. Like, that shit had to stop. So seeing that was happening back in Los Angeles, and he was aware, because he was all a part of this whole shit. Seeing how that juice is so good, yo. It's beets, it's carrots, it's ginger, and oranges. But seeing that he was aware of this attack happening against me because I was publicly supporting him, so they were pretty much attacking him and anyone of relevance who supported him got attacked as well. Like, seeing his response and how they were attacking me, and he just kind of like wasn't doing anything, it let me know, right? It's a thing, like, you go through where you vouching so hard for a person, you're willing to fight and go to bat with that person, but then when the tables turn and the shit hits the fan and you need that person to vouch for you, to have your back, they don't have your back. So it just makes you wonder, like, yo, I'm going so hard for this motherfucker, and this motherfucker don't even give a damn, right? And so seeing that happen back then, I called his ass out on it, and then that's when he came to like, I had to like get his attention, like, yo, what the fuck? Then he actually, he seemed to try to defend me and protect my image, right, by deleting a post that he had made concerning me. So, but seeing that, I'm just like, nah, because for me, loyalty goes both ways, right? If I can ride or die. I will ride or die for anybody that I care about, right, and that we are in alignment and agreement with. I want to go to bat. But if I'm going to bat, it has to be, it has to be reciprocal. And I don't get that from Dr. Umar Johnson. I just don't. I know, like, he said, oh, I'm a busy man, and I'm this and that. But nah, fuck that. If you got writers, that's why I think what he needs to do is create a very intimate kind of thing, which he doesn't. He all over the place. He doesn't have a consistent group of people, right? A community that he can really say, okay, like, I know this person by name, right? And I know they support me, right? I know their name, where they live. Like, he may have a close, let's say, handful, 5 people that he like, okay, I know these people. But I mean, like, yo, when you got avid supporters who are really gonna go to bat for your ass, and you've seen it. Like, you see me, you know what I'm saying? those are the people that you want to protect. If you're really serious about this so-called mission, this isn't just about you. This is about the black community, right? And that's the reason why, I hate to say it, but it's not this mission, right? This movement is not tight. You know what I'm saying? Like the fingers, the fists are loosening. And there's so many holes that have been poked so that it's ways to infiltrate, right? We're not a unified front, And if a person is going to proclaim to be a leader and you are the head of this, I think there should be certain conversations, private conversations had with people who like you're inviting these people are serious. It's not about putting on a show for social media, right? Everything doesn't have to be taken to social media, everything is not about making money, right, and getting profit, and trying to capitalize, right? You're talking about a mission. You need to bring people together. Like he talked about this before, like when he first started, the whole idea of think tanks, and coming together and having conferences. But I mean, seriously, they do it. They have their little secret societies and their secret meetings. Like that's what needs to be done. But I don't take it that he is at that level of seriousness to manifest something of the sort, and really bring together people who, are truly down for the cause, like people who are truly ready, to lose everything, lose their life. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not putting in and to be disrespected, right? And seeing that this woman that he completely body shamed and disrespected and berated, she was a avid supporter of him. I'm pretty sure she donated. She's there wiping the sweat while he's working, just like vouching for him. Like, that's complete disrespect and humiliation. And this is the black conscious community. Could you imagine something that's happening like in the hood? You know what I'm saying? The real motherfucking hood. Yo, shit like that don't fly. Like people be using social media to try to be gangsters, but that shit does not fucking fly in the hood. You're gonna get your life no. You're gonna lose your fucking life doing certain things, the way people move, So I'm just gonna leave that at that, So, and just say, like, it would be nice to continue having a space on social media to support him and to, other people who also are in support of the mission, they can come, and we can engage and interact. But at the same time, like, you know what, I think I'm just going to leave it unpublished and leave it as is. Now, if they reinstate the page and publish it again, then okay, that's Facebook. It's meant to be. But I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to go out my way to create a whole nother page like a fan page to support him in that way. Because I feel like, what is it getting? It's not getting anywhere, and he doesn't appreciate it. He doesn't acknowledge it. He does not. He does not. He acts like he doesn't see it. He doesn't care. And if anything, he probably doesn't even want it, right? So just let him do his thing. And I think that with that, I'm just going to say this. Like, I have actually been watching less of his videos, less of his posts. I even came very close to like unfollowing him, right? And I said, like, you know what? It's a hard call to make because I'm in support of the mission, right? So that's the problem. It's just like, okay, you're in support of the mission. But in realizing there are so many other people who are in alignment with the same cause that he is purporting, right? And that I support, but at the same time, you don't have to necessarily follow him to be a part of that. There are so many other people, so I think that's the thing, just letting go of that, because I feel like it's getting nowhere and it's becoming self-sabotaging. So like his rhetoric, some of the things that he is saying now, that the narrative has devolved to something that's very toxic. I don't like toxicity. Like, I'm very protective over my space, over my energy, and like I'm tuning into some of his most recent lives, and it's very low vibrational, the things that he says is not uplifting. He puts people in the black community down. It's like a lot of self-hatred is being spewed in his lives nowadays. So I just can't tolerate that. You know, I'm a forward-thinking person, forward-moving person. So as long as, you know, you get back on track and he's about that, that's what I'm about. You know, education, upliftment, you know, just educating about history and culture. I'm about that. I'm with that. But when it comes to, you know, you just doing things for views, for the gram, trying to get attention, trying to say things that you know are very provocative in nature, you know, and going to get kind of elicit these emotionally reactive responses from people, and in the comment section and repost, like, I'm not. That to me is very degrading. It's repulsive. It's a waste of my time and my effort. So, stepping away from that. So I said last night I actually had a vision. And that vision came to me in the form of a dream. And I was completely... like when I woke up this morning, I'm just like, hold on, let me see what time it is, you guys. Let me see how long we've been going. Okay, not bad. When I woke up this morning, I felt so refreshed. And I realized, like, okay, this is just a dream. But for me, my dreams are so real, and they are like wake-up calls for me. A lot of times they're wake-up calls, they're warning signs, they're premonitions. They're telling me things about myself, about my environment, people around me that I need to kind of be attuned to. So I listen to my dreams. And so last night in my dream, it was more so this morning part of the night, this morning before I woke up, where I was with my family on my mother's side. My maternal side, we went to Africa, yo. But we were in, it's funny, like when we got there, I don't think I knew exactly where I was. I knew I was in Africa, but I didn't know exactly like what part of Africa. I just remember it was like we were in a Walmart, and yo, the saying is true. Like people from the hood, when we go places, we travel, the first place we look for is a Walmart. But we were in a Walmart, but this Walmart was very much different. It was African-centered Walmart. They had like everything African in there. The products was African. Everything just had like this cultural like taste to it, you know, flavor to it. And they had furniture in there. It was like different levels. It was a multi-level big fucking Walmart, but it was like at this resort, right? So it wasn't just a Walmart, but it was like a hotel, right, where we were lodging. And I remember I was with my family. It was my mom, my sister, my aunt, my cousins, my nieces and nephews. And for some reason, like my mom, me and my mom were together, right? And she was like doing her own thing. This is my mom. She just be in her own world, just like me, right? And so she was moving at a pace that I wasn't really moving at, right? Like she was just kind of zipping through the whole thing, and I just wanted to slow down and experience the present moment and just take it all in, just absorb it, right? But I remember she was just going through it so fast, and I felt like I was getting left behind, and that, you know, even though we were at a stop, that wasn't our final destination. So it was much like a layover. And then the layover, like I said, it was like a resort, but it had like a Walmart, it had like a hotel, it had like all of these different access to different resources that we could utilize in the meantime before we were going to board our next flight. And so I remember like we went down, but she didn't go with me down to the bottom level, and I was at the bottom level, and guess what was there? Yo, I'm like, yo, I gotta manifest this dream, this vision. I have to manifest it. Like it didn't just happen just to happen. I just felt like so motivated now to go to Africa. I'm gonna tell you why. So I go down to the bottom level. Like I said, it was multi-levels where we were in this space, and I go down to the bottom, down the stairs. And I entered this room, and it was like the hotel part. And there were men, okay? There were beautiful African men. You hear me? And there was a bed. And there was a bed of like 5 African men. Just like there. Just like there for me. Like it was about nobody. It was like they were there for me, yo. Like it was a gift. So I entered the room, and I think my mom, I think she came, but she left. She didn't want to stay, so she kind of just like paraded through the room, past these men as if she didn't notice them, and then she was like, "All right, I'm headed back up." But I'm like, "I'm staying, right?" And so I think I asked her out loud. I was like, "Where are we? Where are we?" And she just like I said, she was just like caught up in her own thing and not really responding to me. And I just let her go. And I'm down there. She left me down there with these African men, yo, in the bed. They were like lying in bed together. They were not gay, but they were just like, they're like available, okay, to me, right? And I asked the question. I'm like, where are we? And then I walked back towards these African men that were sitting in the bed, and they was just like positioned like they were so ready, yo. Them motherfuckers that were ready, yo. And I remember like there was this touch screen device, and I was trying. It was a map. And I was trying to, because it showed you like it had like a point, a star to say, okay, you are here. So I'm like, expanding it, right, to see like, okay, what city, what country are we in? And it said Mali. So I was like, oh, we're in Mali. And then they confirmed, like, yeah, this is Mali. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to leave. I recognized like my mom had left me, my family, like they were somewhere else, but I'm down there on this bottom level with these African men, and like the possibilities were endless. I'm just like, I could stay. And so I wanted to stay so bad. A big part of me was just pulling me and just trying to keep me there and just saying, just go have fun. Just do it. Like, no one is gonna know. And that's sad. It's unfortunate that our sexuality has become so stigmatized and demonized that, you know, we can't just be ourselves without ridicule and judgment. So even in my dream, I felt like there was this awareness of it being wrong, right, and the possibility of, or what could happen if I do this kind of thing. And sometimes I hate dreams like that. So this dream, it was more, it wasn't a lucid dream, right? Like I don't think, and while I was dreaming, I wasn't aware that I was dreaming. It wasn't until I woke up that okay, this is a dream. So there are dreams that I have where they're very lucid, and I am aware that I'm dreaming, and I'm just like, I don't care. There's no judgment. When I'm aware that I am dreaming, there is no judgment. What do you call it? The super ego. There is no super ego. There's just like anything goes, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it, yo. So I wasn't able to do that in this past dream that I had last night. So I ended up just saying goodbye for now to those men. But they're gonna come back, yo. They're gonna come back in real life, I'm telling you. So I let that be, and I went upstairs, and I was looking for my family. Where the fuck is my damn family, yo? We came here together, right? And I'm falling behind, and I finally caught them. I entered this room, and I think it was something like some religious space. That's what it felt like, a religious, like, quiet space, just like a holding space. I went in there, and they were sitting in there, and I'm just like, y'all are spoiling my trip. This is not what I want to do. And I think after that point, I woke up. And when I woke up, yo, so much was going through my mind. I'm like, yo, I legit just went to Africa. And I want to say, now I think about it, that was my very first time going to Africa in a dream. I don't think I've ever had a dream where I was in Africa. That was my very first time. So I'm like, you know, the feeling, y'all. I'm overwhelmed with emotion. I'm mesmerized. I am in shock. I'm like, yo, I need to go to Africa. And of course, this is a recurring theme that has come up in my life, to talk about visiting Africa, even possibly moving there. This is, you know, it's coming in my mind and my experience. It's definitely on my radar. I'm just taking care of something right now. It's relating to my career, my professional development, but that is almost done. That is almost done, thank God. And then, yes, I will be planning to go, but I'm like, yo, I felt like it was, yes, I was overwhelmed with emotion when I woke up this morning, but I felt so good and so motivated, more than I've ever been. So, yes, prior to this, I've been highly motivated to go to Africa. Nothing but high hopes and positive thoughts when I am meditating on my visit to Africa. Of course, there are people who are afraid to visit Africa. I actually cut one of my best friends, my long life best friend. I cut him off because that's how serious this shit is to me, yo. You know, it's like deeply ingrained in who I am, my identity, my purpose, my mission in life, and I feel like anything outside of that, you got to go, right? And so, you know, we had talks on going to Africa. This was like months ago, years ago, right? And he was with it, and all of a sudden, like when it really come down to the grinder, really come down to the point in time to really plan for it, he's like, oh, like he don't feel comfortable, he gotta bring a gun, you don't trust those people, like all negative talk. And I'm just like, you can keep that here in the U.S. I am not bringing that kind of mentality with me. In fact, when I woke up from the dream, one of the major thoughts that came to my mind was, I am going by myself. That is, yo, I felt like this dream was a wake-up call. It was telling me, it had so much messages in there. It was like, listen, go the fuck to Africa by yourself. Do not go with any, why would you go with anyone? Why go? Go by yourself. You don't need no family, you don't need no friends. You need nobody. Go to Africa by yourself. You're going to have so much fun. And in fact, when you go to Africa, Danielle, this experience is going to be just tailor-made for you. Like no other. Now, granted, I love to watch YouTube videos. I follow a lot of travel vloggers, and I like to kind of immerse myself in their shoes to see what it could be like if I went to Africa. Everyone's experience is different. That's the thing. So I don't think people get it, because people, you know, whether they watch documentaries, they read history books, they watch travel vlogs of other people, it's not accurate, right? That's just a depiction in time through a certain person's lens. Your lens and the time that you go is going to be tailor-made to you and your experience, right? Because the lens that I look through is shaped by my own personal life experiences, my own personal ideologies and beliefs, right? My own spiritual journey and the point in which I am in that journey, right? And pair that with what's happening in our universe, right? In a person's universe in that point in time when I embark on that visit to Africa. You know, I'm a believer, strong believer in divine alignment, in that when I go, things are going to align a certain way that my experience is going to be very tailor-made and very special and unlike no other. And I am going to have a positive experience. I follow this Instagrammer. She lives in Brooklyn. I'm not going to say her name, but she went to Egypt. She had a group visit to Africa, and they went to Egypt, and she come back complaining. Yo, she's complaining about going to Egypt. And I can't help but say and attribute it to the fact that she went in a group. Like, she's a woman, she's a goddess. Okay, she navigates the world just kind of like how I do. Like, I am my own person. If anything, I am a leader, right? I don't need to be around people to be happy. I am happy by myself. And she navigates the world like that. And I'm like, okay, if you navigate like this is your level of homeostasis here in the States, right? You're usually by yourself. You're usually in your own glory, by yourself. Yes, you have people that admire you. Yes, you may interact with people. You go places with people, but you are, you are in your own space. Why would a person who is usually like that, why choose to do that? Why go with the group? Why would you go to? Why go with the group? Why? It's just so much better. So she's like coming back having all these regrets and saying, what would she do differently given that she goes, another time. Yeah. I guess it's just a learning experience, but she was not happy with the experience because this is the thing. When you go like places like that with a group, if you're a free-spirited person, that's me. I am completely free-spirited, and that kind of goes into why I am still single, and singlehood being a choice that you're very much comfortable with and that works for you. You don't have to consult anyone, right? You just move on the beat of your own drum. So the thing about going to a place like Africa in a group, or anywhere for that matter, your decisions, your plan, the course that you're going to follow is dictated by, it's already mapped out for you. That's the thing, it's mapped out for you, and it's time driven, right? So it's just like you really can't take things in at the pace that you want to. It's going to take away from your own individualistic experience because you're on someone else's time and schedule that has already been mapped out and planned out. When you're going to wake up, when you're going to go to this landmark or this place, no, right? Like, it should not be that way. And I think another drawback, because people go and follow these like very cookie cutter traditional tours to different places in Africa like Egypt and Ghana, and okay, that could have its advantages, that can be cool, but I feel like that is not, you're taking away from the organic experience. You're just taking away from it. When I moved to New York City from Atlanta, I wasn't trying to go and do the things that typical tourists do. No, I wanted to step outside that box and allow spirit to guide me in the direction of where I should go and the things that I should experience and how I should experience it. I've been living here in New York. I've been moved to New York City in 2014. Take away the 4 years I went to LA for my doctoral studies from 2016 to 2020. But I am here. This is where I live. And I still explore New York as a tourist. I feel like it takes time. It can't be rushed. You can't have this set fucking rigid ass schedule on, okay, at 8 o'clock on Saturday you're going to do this. And at 10 o'clock on Saturday you're going to do this. And that. No. I don't want that to be my experience in going to Africa. I wouldn't mind doing a tour, but it's still someone else projecting their understanding of history, imposing that onto you. I really don't want that. Like, when I say I'm a free-spirited person, I just want to go and explore the place by myself and see what kind of experiences pop up for me as I'm doing that, right? And just accepting it for what it is, right? Not having any expectation on what I think it should be like, or having some kind of reference point on what other people have said about their experiences in Africa. No, I have those reference points, but I don't think I'm going to rely upon that. I'm just going to go and just kind of go like clean slate and open definitely unafraid, you know. And I can't take anyone with me who's afraid. It's no fear. You can't be driven by fear and going on an excursion of self-discovery, and connecting to one's roots and heritage and coming to a higher level of consciousness and awakening, and you're driven by fear. No, that is going to be an obstacle that's going to stagnate that process, that experience, that elevation. I don't need that in my aura, in my space. So yes, I'm going to Africa alone, to make a long story short. And that, I imagine, is definitely going to happen next year, I would say. Yo, I'm about to do some traveling. Because, like I said, my salary is just steadily increasing. I'm just feeling grateful for that. So with my salary and my income and revenue increasing, of course I can have the liberty to do more things, to travel. That's just at the top of my list. Going by myself, this guy, I've been on a dating app, no brainer, right? And I came across this guy from Gambia, and he's like, oh, you like to travel? He sees it on my dating profile. I'm like, yeah. He's like, what places have you been? Like, I haven't really left the U.S., but that's the plan. You know, I have an interest in doing so. He was like, where do you want to go? And I told him, like, you know, several countries in Africa. So given that, yo, I had a dream that I went to Mali. Yo, I go anywhere in Africa, but I think I want to go to more, like, indigenous-based areas, like Kenya, Mali, maybe even Gambia. I think Gambia is very small, though. But I do have a couple of friends here in New York City that are from Gambia, so that would be cool. Just to go see, like, where they come from, what it looks like, you know, and that kind of could help paint a better picture of that person, these friends that I have who are from Gambia. But yeah, I definitely am drawn to visit places that are more like indigenous, more native, more traditional, less modernized and colonized. I want to go to those places and just be. And I'm curious to see how I interact with them. Like how, you know, of course, like, yes, I'm African. I'm of African descent, right? But I've been colonized. My mind is colonized. Everything about me, like, my blood is mixed, right? It's not pure African blood. My father's grandmother who raised him, she is a product of an interracial situation where her father was a white English man who owned this housemaid, which is her mother, right? My father's grandmother, she was black, a housemaid, and ended up sleeping with the Englishman who owned her, and that produced my father's grandmother who raised him, right? So it's, yeah, the blood is very diluted, so I'm aware of that, and I know being an American citizen, I'm African American, you know, I'm just curious to see, like, that interaction with the different cultures. This acculturation process that will happen when I am around and intermingling with people of different African cultures on the continent. I'm looking forward to just see what that is like, open to that. I'm definitely going to be doing some writing when I'm there and some creating. I definitely want to do, like, some documentaries when I'm there. There's a lot of different projects that I'm going to work on when I am on the motherland, the continent. So I'm looking forward to that. If I'll bring anyone with me, it will be for that reason, to, like, assist me with the documentary, for example. But apart from that, and I could just use people on the continent, but apart from that, I don't want to bring anyone who's going to have negative energy, right? And who's going to try to guide and dictate my experience. Because now I don't want nobody fucking up. So maybe when I first go, it's just going to be a me thing. I'm definitely going to capture some footage of my experience and what it's like. But I do want to make some professional documentaries while I'm there too. So I have a lot of things I want to do, but I just thought I'd share that with you guys. I'm just like mesmerized and holding on to that experience that I had while I was traveling in my sleep last night. I'm just like, damn, I gotta go back. They were just sitting there ready, waiting, which makes me also revisit this whole topic of polyandry and how some people have a hard time wrapping their minds around the possibility of a beautiful goddess as myself being afforded the opportunity to have multiple male husband partners, right? Because they're very close-minded people. They don't see that. But we live in a very massive, diverse world here, okay? And I would say that people within that dynamic are very fluid. Just the mind of humanity, a person's mind, no matter I think what geographical region you are in or what culture you in, we have this kind of plasticity within our brain. It's very malleable. So don't ever think that humanity is so rigid in our conditioning that we're not open to other possibilities. So I'm going to end on that note, but I want you guys, feel free to share your comments below on the two major things I talked about here in this video in terms of my former crush, the conscious community, and my vision to visit Africa. And if you've had a chance to visit Africa, feel free to share your experiences below. Feel free to share your links to your videos of those experiences below. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.